Hi there and welcome back to this week's trade recap. Finally, I have some really interesting things to show. I always say that, but this week I think I have some really different things to show. So let's get straight to the point and let's start with Monday price action. Here on a daily, for the whole week, my overall bias is bullish because we tapped this huge daily for value gap and probably we would have a good reaction of it because we swapped so much liquidity. We have a really obvious value gap that may get respected, and that's exactly what happened. So zooming in on Monday, here we already had a really bullish price action. We have bullish order flow, bullish order blocks being created. If I zoom in on the 1 minute, here we have really bullish order flow with bullish order blocks. And if I zoom in on the beginning of the AM session of Monday, we see that we have this huge data wick. This thing is always created by data wicks. And this being data highs and my order flow being bullish and my bias being bullish, this would be my Monday target. And I was waiting for some manipulation near open and then a bullish setup. And when we formed these two for value gaps, I said, okay, if this inverse, I will take this. This really looks like a really good trade. We have manipulation, delivery, and a good target, but well, it never did, and it went straight down, rebalanced some other gaps. And if there would be a trade that we would take, it would be this one, because here we have this 1 minute / 30-second inversion, which in my model it is invalid because we already tapped the first swing high. But if we had a lot of conviction in being bullish, as I kind of was, this was a really good trade, because if we zoom on a 30-second, this gets even more obvious. And here we have trendline liquidity, and we have in the 5 minute these gaps that haven't been filled. So this makes this a good trade. But because I didn't want this to be so far below and I wanted us to inverse this with more efficiency, I didn't even take this trade because, in my opinion, it was a little bit too zoomed in and not really obvious. But it was a really good trade and is a really good thing to mention. Tuesday's explanation is really simple. At the end of the PM session of the previous day, so it'd be at the end of Monday, we had this 15-minute really obvious. We have a change in the state of delivery, which is the creation of an order block, and the inversion with a lot of momentum, and we have the data high that I was just talking about. So this is a really obvious trade to take. I understand that if we look on the 1 minute, we have some open gaps, but this 15 minutes here is something really obvious, and if this happened on the 1 minute, this would be a really good setup to take. But during the thing that really matters to us, during the AM session, we had nothing. On Wednesday, I was bullish. This is AM session of Wednesday, and my overall bias was still this high. So we see that this is that high, and if we go to financial juice or something like that, we see that Trump said something, and I usually take these setups, but I wasn't focused on this day because I had some troubles with my account and some other things, and I was having some sort of performance issues here with the market. And when I saw this inversion, I said it was bad because we took so much time to inverse this and we had so much choppiness to inverse this. So in my opinion, at the time, this wasn't good. But here on the 5 minute, we swept these lows and we continue respecting this. So because we didn't have the strength to go lower, usually we will go higher. And we have this small delivery, which isn't really interesting. But we swept this, we had the data high, which is the most important draw on liquidity we had at this point. So here, this would be the setup that we will take. Right at open, this is the setup that we have been talking for the past weeks. Right at open, we have some sort of manipulation and we go up. And here, when we take these setups to the data highs, we wait for the data low to be swept, and then we take the first inversion if it looks good. And this, for value gap right here, it did look good. But because I wasn't so focused on the market, I didn't understood it at the moment that this was good. But it was. If we inversed it right here, before all this choppiness, this would be a really good setup. I would take this every time. But because of this choppiness, I was being a little bit skeptic and I didn't take this trade. This was a win. We can say it was a loss or a break even, but it was a win. Because usually we take these setups to do that high. But if we go here on the hourly, the setup is around here. But right here we have this high. This is a protected high. This is high resistance liquidity because we already swept it. And when that high is placed somewhere that has already taken some liquidity, it starts to be a little bit lower probability. And it did got swept eventually at the end of the day, but this wasn't the best target because it was high resistance liquidity. And here what we usually do is here on the 15-minute and the hourly, we have the rejection block. Because this is a protected high, it makes this a rejection block. So we will target the rejection block and take everything here, or if we had some confluences and a lot of confidence that we would take this high, we could leave a runner, but we would always scale here. And with the confidence that I had on us not taking this with a lot of efficiency, I would say that I would scale everything here, but I can't say because I didn't take this trade. But it is a really interesting trade to see because it will happen again, as I always say, and it's a good reminder. Now, with my favorite one, on Thursday, I was still bullish. This was still my weekly target. And we went down with a lot of momentum, which made me a little bit skeptic again, but we were delivering from this huge 15-minute and hourly. And if we zoom here on the 5, it can also be seen on the 15-minute, but I think it is best to see on the 5. Right here, we have equal highs. We are delivering from the 15-minute and the hourly that I just said. And if we zoom again on a 3-minute, we have perfect trend line liquidity, which aligns with the London high and the London low, which is this one, has already been swept. This is my target. I am really, really bullish. And I was waiting for this 5-minute to get inverse for me to have the confidence to then to long here. But I said it and I draw it before this all happened that if we went above the trend line and then we had an inversion to the upside like this 1 minute, I will take this every time. And it didn't happen as efficient as I thought it would be. But if we go here on the 15-minute, here we swept this low inside the fair value gap, which makes this 15-minute intermediate term low protected and with really, really good momentum, which is just one candle. I think it's the best momentum. We inverse this 5-minute. And I didn't take the 5, which would be the best, because if the 5-minute inversed here, which also aligns with this BPR, and my bias is so bullish, I could take this 5 minutes due to the confidence that I have on this draw on liquidity. But because I was already watching this 1 minute since the beginning, I waited for the 5 minute to get inversed, which it did on this candle, and then I waited for the 1 minute to get inversed, which it also did. So I took this trade, which it is really, really good because the break-even is also relatively equal highs. This is the most textbook setup I've seen in the past months, and I was too much risk averse on this one because I placed my stop loss below the inception gap because I thought to myself that with all this momentum and all the things that we have been seeing due to war, the price action isn't the best. So I have been too much risk averse, and when I saw this inverse, I placed my stop loss below this one, this inception gap, and it is good. I'm really happy that I took this trade. I took this one. This was my only win, my only trade of the week, and I'm really happy I took it. But there is also something to be learned here. I could have executed this better. I analyzed the day perfectly in my opinion, but the execution could be better. As I said, if we inverse the 5 minutes with so much momentum and we also inverse this 1 minute, which was already respected here and was already respected here, if we inverse this 1 minute, we really shouldn't come back below it. This was a really strong PD array, and if we inversed it, it stopped being resistance and it started being support, and this was a really good trade for us to take, and I could place my stop loss below here or below the 5 minute, which is this fair value gap right here, placed it below the 5 minute, and it would give me the opportunity to take one more contract, which will almost double my risk to the reward. And I'm really happy that I finally took a really good win. This was a textbook setup, and if I didn't take it, I would be really mad at myself. As something that I said on last week, I said that we should say that we will take this trade before it really happens, and I was waiting for this setup to happen before this fair value gap was even placed on the market, and that's what gave me the confidence to take this trade. This was a really interesting week for me. Let's see if we have even better ones waiting for us in the future. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.